You don't believe in equality?
Not really.
So what? So if we can't have equality, what's the next thing?
Freedom, I think, is the best solution to our problems rather than equality. I mean, no one's equal. No one in any way. I mean, we're going to have different amounts of money in our bank account.
Right.
You know, I'm obviously far better looking than you are. You know, no, you're taller than I am. You know, there is no equality. In no way are we equals. The best we can ask for is peers. Is to have the same political rights, but equality beyond that, I don't think there's any.
So when you say
hope.
freedom, you mean freedom to be who you actually are?
Yes.
Right.
Because as soon as you have freedom, then you're going to have all different varying levels of success and outcomes. They're not going to be equal outcomes, and that's what the communists want, is to make sure that everyone has the same outcome. I think it's actually highly oppressive, and honestly, it's the reason that so many people died in the 20th century, is the pursuit of equality, and I don't know why we're all just going along with it.
So then, okay, so if we're not all equal, but then we have to say there could be unfair advantages.
There certainly are.
Right. So if you, for instance, are born into a millionaire family, for instance, and I'm born into a poor family.
Yes.
Is it fair?
I don't know if you can describe anything as fair, really.
So it just is what it is, according to you.
Well, it's just according to reality, isn't it? I mean, what do? Do we say that no one can become a millionaire?
No. The thing is, so basically, just going off on that, you're going into the whole survival of the fittest, only the strong will survive type thing.
No, I don't think of myself as any kind of like social Darwinist or anything. I do actually think that we should do things to make life more fair. I actually do agree with all that. But the problem is, as soon as you agree to the idea of material equality, then essentially you've lost everything, because anything can be justified from that point onwards. I mean, literally anything. So, describe a situation, and through the rubric of equality, you could end up essentially winnowing away anything, because ultimately the end result of equality is everyone being the lowest common denominator.
Right.
Anyone who's slightly above that is going to have to be pulled down, because it's not fair to the rest that someone else is slightly above. And so effectively everything's going to be as bad as it can be.
But then according to what I'm hearing about you and the alt-right, right? So you would say that if there's no equality, that means superiority. Some people are more superior than others, or no?
Everything's hierarchical. There's always a hierarchy. You put two people on an island.
Racially, do you think?
Oh, no. I mean,
because I'm trying to understand why they say
you're
a supremacist or white supremacist. Or,
because I oppose the communists, and that's the go-to insult for them. I'm an individualist, so I'm thinking of this on the individual level. Each individual person is different to each other individual person, and for us all to be equal, and the drive to make us perfectly equal, we'll all have to end up being the same. And I don't want that. To me, that's the end of diversity.
No.
I like the fact that the world is different and interesting, but what that means is you're going to have to accept that there is a hierarchy of people in the world. There always will be. There always has been.
Well, then that would mean people have different identities.
Yeah, of course.
However, when I watched your Joe Rogan interview, and you said you don't really do the identity thing. You think it's a bit silly.
There's your personal identity, and then there's identity politics.
Right.
And I mean,
I identify as a Pan-African black nationalist.
Sure.
Right.
And that's your particular identity, your personal philosophy. But if the problem I have with identity politics is it politicizes the individual under every circumstance in which they find themselves. So, for example, if I were to say, right, I now am the person who is representing black people.
Right.
And I turn around and say to you, right, I'm telling you what is and isn't for black people. You can say, well, hang on, I didn't agree to this.
Right.
Well, it's too bad.
We actually had that conversation on this show. I got a show called The Black Opinion. And we actually asked the question, what does it mean to be black?
Yeah.
Because black people generally think there's a version of blackness.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that,
And I wouldn't sometimes fit
the
version. So then we ask the question, so who is the right version of
exactly.
what black is?
It becomes prescriptive, as in someone else can tell you how you're supposed to be acting as a black person.
Right.
And that means that when don't they control you? When are you not a black person? So any space you go into is a politicized space, because every individual actor in there is something inherently, and those identities, when being acted upon in a political way, I mean, you can never escape being that thing, and so it's totalitarian.
Yeah, because if you go the identity route, because what normally happened is, or what did happen, is that a black person wouldn't sit down to speak with Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
Right? In my community, that was what's said. So when I sat down to speak with Tom Robinson, they were like, it's a sellout.
What, you're not black now?
I'm not black anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Black card got revoked, apparently. Right?
Exactly.
So then I said, but whose version of blackness am I adhering to now?
Yeah. And so this is why I don't like identity politics, because it is an oppressive form of politics, and frankly, it's the same sort of politics that the Nazis used. You know, it
is fascist, though.
Absolutely,
Yeah, it's fascist.
Absolutely. There's no question of it. And the people always say, "Well, isn't all politics identity politics?" No, the alternative is party politics, where you choose to self-associate with a political party. So if you join the Conservative Party, I could, and if I join the Labour Party, then we could have a conversation on those political lines. But you could say, "You know what, I'm leaving the Conservative Party," and I'd be like, "Okay, well, there we go." You know, that's you've had the choice to self-associate in the way that you want to engage politically or not, as the case may be. You might not want to be a political person and just get on with your private life. You know,
the thing is, for my identity as being a black nationalist was kind of born out of seeing the social condition of black people globally. So you know, when I looked at the social condition and economic condition of black people globally, I did find that black people are at the bottom of the social economic ladder globally. So what I find is, and this is the reason why I formed this identity for myself, and it was because generally when people find themselves either oppressed or, you know, under someone else's, you know, rule or something, they generally band together.
Yeah.
So, you know, women did it with feminism. You know, I don't know what the feminism today is, but they generally done it. You know, they were like, oh, we're oppressed, we need to band together and do something. So that's the reason why I banded together.
And that's, you know, that's fine, but you're not saying that you're going to dictate how black people have to live.
No.
You know, what you're talking about is like activism and improving things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not you're not laying claim to people.
No.
You know, so that's the difference.
And also I think people get scared though as well when you say you're a black nationalist. So
I think it does have connotations.
And this is the thing, right? Because this is what I said to people, because nationalism along the lines of race is normally attributed to white nationalism.
Yeah.
And when we see white nationalism, we kind of see Hitler. Or, do you know what I mean? KKK and burning of crosses and stuff. Yeah. And so when I say that I'm a black nationalist, people are like, whoa, what you mean? Yeah. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I have no desire to kill people and burn crosses or, you know what I mean, oppress people, but I need, or I want black people to lift themselves at the bottom of the socio-economic ladder and do better for themselves.
See, what I'm hearing there is a philosophy of empowerment.
Right.
So someone who isn't looking outside of themselves or their own community, someone who's looking inward and saying, look, we can do better.
We need to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It doesn't really matter what the other people are doing, because what matters is what we're doing.
100%.
And that, to me, that's fine. I don't see any problem with anything like that. In fact, that to me is eminently desirable, because otherwise you end up getting resentful, you know, and envious, and you start to hate the people who you perceive as having something different to you or being different to you, and that's really unhealthy, isn't it?
Well, I look at it like I look at life like a football game, right? And I've always said to people, like, I support Liverpool. I don't know if you support.
I actually don't follow football, but
I
know what you mean.
I support Liverpool, and we're now European champions, right?
Yeah.
And in the Champions League final, we were playing Tottenham, and I said, if life is like a game, you back your team. Yeah. If you choose your team, you back your team. I don't hate Tottenham. I didn't want Tottenham to die. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to kill the manager. I didn't want to take the players out, but I'm going to back Liverpool.
Not only that, you need Tottenham to have a game.
Right.
You know, the very fact that you oppose them validates their existence, because otherwise, without them, who are you opposing? How are you even playing the game? You know, you can't play the game if Tottenham don't exist. So it's not that you want to eradicate Tottenham or something. No. You know, but you're not them. You know, that's
we're not them. We need to back our team, and if we lost, we'd go away. You know, we'd buy some more players. You know what I mean? We'd make ourselves better and come back the next year.
But what I find really interesting about this analogy is that if there was something about Tottenham that if they could make some persuading argument, say, hey, why don't you actually, you know, our team's better for X reasons? Yeah. You could change. You know, you're not just boxed in. You can actually change there. No. That's a healthy way of viewing the world, in my opinion.
I mean, for me, if I don't I sit down. I like to have conversations with people who are. Their mind does go X, Y, and Z, and they're not boxed in. Because even though I know that's my politics, I can still sit down to talk to anyone. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I don't see people as a threat. Oh my God, I can't speak to that person. Blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people, I would say, within my community, do see that. It's like, oh, you can't talk to that person. It's like, why? Yeah. It's a conversation.
To me, that suggests that you're secure in your own ideas. And I think people who are afraid of talking to people they're not used to are afraid of engaging with other ideas just because they don't have the courage of their own convictions, I think.
Well, a lot of people are afraid of hearing stuff and another person saying stuff, and now the new thing, as you can see, is like throwing milkshakes on people.
Yes.
You got a fish thrown at you, didn't you?
And a milkshake.
And a milkshake.
Yeah. So, to me, I'm actually very happy with that, because what it means is they have nothing further to say.
Right.
They've run out of arguments. But what I'm saying still stands. You know.
Right.
So that they can throw whatever they like at me, but I can turn around and say yes, but what I've said here is true. And
But do you think that's the generation that we're raising, though? Are we raising a generation of people that can't actually hold a conversation and get really emotional and then just like lose it?
Absolutely. And it's totally encouraged by the media, by the political institutions. I mean, that's what hate speech laws are, you know. I mean, like, racism is an opinion.
Exactly.
Who cares about someone's opinion?
We'll get onto that.
Yeah, but this is the point, you know.
Yeah.
Like, if someone would say something racist, how you handle that is completely down to you.
Right.
You know, and I mean, you know, I think that racism is dumb. I think that it's a silly thing. It's not descriptive of the world, you know, because each individual is different. Each race has a completely broad spectrum of different kinds of people.
Yeah.
So you can't make a generalization about a single race. On
But
sort of innate characteristics.
That different cultures do that.
Absolutely, there are. Absolutely, there are. Each culture has characteristics, but that doesn't mean each individual follows these characteristics or like sort of cultural norms, you know. And so it is silly to just blanket every black person is this, every white person is that. It's not true.
Well, I know. Getting on to that, I know.